Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where I am very glad to say that I have my first ever guest back for a special reason. Hello.
Hi, Howard.
I can see the reason is behind you, but luckily I will say that you have brought me some media and stuff that I'm going to be showing throughout this as well. We're going to go through a few things I'm going to show. The reason being is because you have the very limited and special Miku flappy pigeon,
Yeah, number 26.
number 26. Now, this is a really interesting item, and this brought up a lot of questions because obviously when I was in Tokyo last, I was going to go and try and get like some up close footage with it. However, time and also the fact that I didn't manage to find the right shop did kind of mean that that didn't happen. So I was kind of left feeling a little bit sore about that. And then of course I saw you'd been posting some stuff online about your one, and we spoke, and the subject just sort of overall came up about merchandise. And merchandise is something that we've discussed with a lot in the community about the different merchandise. Like some bands, they do merchandise, and a lot of it's like, what on earth is this? But the Band-Maid stuff as a general is pretty fun, actually. Before we get on to what you have, I'm going to ask you one question, which is there's something that they did recently. I don't think I can get hold of it, but I'm really intrigued by it, which is they had the Band-Maid glasses. Like there was shot glasses, there was the pint glasses. I'm assuming you've seen this.
Okay, so the the beer stein, that's real.
Mm.
The shot glasses are fake. That was Peter Lim, one of the admins. He's being a wise ass. He
Ah,
did a really good job on that Photoshop. They're amazing, and everybody wants them.
we
But
have
no,
me
that's what
convinced.
I, he basically he took the art from the Zippos and put them on shot glasses. They looked amazing.
Well, we are going to get onto the Zippos as well, actually. But before we do, though, yes, I must say, um, I think because of the way they're distributing it, I can't remember exactly how it is. I think it's going to be too difficult for me to get hold of one of those beer steins. But that is like the greatest piece of merchandise I think I've ever seen. So, I
Says the Englishman.
hey, it brings together all of my loves as a human being. And there's my girlfriend unhappy that she's not included in that. But that's a different conversation entirely. So yeah, no, this just again goes to show though that these guys are always coming up with some really awesome merchandise. Now we're going to go through a few things today, but I wanted to start first of all about talking really about the details on the Flappy Pigeon because lots of people have been posting stuff. Some of it's been very close. A lot of it's been very far away. You know, people unpacking theirs, etc. What sort of things really? What are your favourite details on this guitar? What are the things that you most liked about it?
Wow. I think for the simple fact that the inlay is going to be different from guitar to guitar because it's a natural material between the mother of pearl and then the abalone for the leaves. It is absolutely stunning. I haven't seen any others up close, but some of the deep colors and just the iridescence of the roses and the greens and the blues and the leaves, it's just stunning. I don't know how else to put it. Just because it's a natural material, everyone's different. I would love to just compare it to some other ones.
I actually didn't know that. I had no idea that was the case. Um,
Yeah.
I like the fact that when you even describe it, you can't help but make it sound poetic. It's like there's no way to even talk about it without it sounding poetic in a way. But yeah, it's really sort of beautifully crafted. Now, I don't know, so again, I'm going to ask a question that might sound a bit layman's. I'm assuming these are all handcrafted. I'm assuming these are all being put together by hand.
All right. So if we want to get into the tech specs of the guitar, I've actually reached out to Does USA about it and
Okay.
asked some very pointed questions. And uh, Greg over at Zemitis is the GM for Zemitis USA. He's just absolutely been amazing and super communicative with me. Helped me through some of the drama of getting it from Japan over here because there was a little bit of that, not too much. Um, but it is basically an A24 MF Zemitis, A being the antenna series of metal fronts, and so the bones are exactly the same. It's a African mahogany body and neck. It's an Indian rosewood fretboard, and then it has uh, the acid etched metal front. Where it goes off, and then the pickups are all the same. Those are the Dragon Classic pickups. So the guts and the bones are all the same. Where it differs and it comes away from a standard A24 MF is all of the pretty parts. If we want to start from the top and work our way down.
Yeah.
Sure. So let's see. So the plate on the headstock, most A24 MFs have the diamond plate with just the Z. This one has, for lack of a better term, the arrow plate, which says Zamitis completely. And in the pictures that I sent you, you can see it very clearly.
Yeah.
So most of them are the little diamond with the Z in it. And I asked Greg about that, and he said, there's nothing especially special about it. But when I did my research, it was really hard to find that. Those appeared on only a couple that I could find, only on a couple of the disc front models. Next would it's the truss rod cover, with
Yeah, we should point out the
Miku Kubata
numbers as well there. So the numbers, like, so 810 is in Hato. I'm not sure why the 5 is like Go Hato.
Oh, that's upside down.
So
Yeah.
Go Hato.
Well,
and then
but it's, I guess,
the 39 being Miku.
Right. So the Go Hata, I guess the Go can be Ko as well. So it's Ko To.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So her name kind of actually plays into the Hato thing as well. Hato, just in case, for anyone who's a more casual viewer, Hato, of course, being the Japanese for pigeon, her full name, of course, being Kobato Miku. So, and the pigeon persona, unsurprisingly, being the whole basis of this guitar. So, I was really, I must admit, when I first saw it, I've subsequently fallen more in love with the body, because the body at first doesn't really strike you as much, because there's so much detail that it doesn't hit you as much. But the neck, well, not the neck, but the headstock was the first thing I really noticed, because it really draws you in from the top. So I thought that was a nice sort of bold statement at the top there.
You know what? Exactly. And I'm really into uniqueness is a really big thing for me. I like nature, so everything is different in nature. So if something has a flair to it, or there's something special about it, I gravitate to that as well. I mean, like you said, we talked about the two pieces of the headstock. No hashtag no bias, but the fret. I think my fretboard is the prettiest one I've seen. The rosewood is absolutely because I do woodwork. So that, and if you see my unboxing video, I talk about that and I show it pretty close up. But the grain on that redwood is absolutely stunning. There's so many different colors in it, and it's an absolutely beautiful piece of wood. Other than that, that's just it is a standard A24 MF neck. There's nothing special about it. Same thing with the body. Like I said, it's the African mahogany. The differences with hers is there's subtlety, and then obviously there's big grand differences. But one of the subtle ones is her paint. The finish on hers is a matte finish, whereas a normal A24 MF is a satin finish. Incredibly subtle, and you probably have to put one side by side to even notice it. Then you go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to add to that. I mean, I kind of we were discussing this the other day on the Discord and on our community about the fact that there is this difference between different ways that you can have a signature guitar be done. I mean, some of them are simply just a repaint, some of them are full redesign, and some of them are totally uniquely made guitars. I think there's something kind of honest about when you have a guitar that has a sort of surface design that's very personal, but it is still a stock guitar. Because if you think about it, these musicians, really what they're using is stock guitars. I mean, that's how they get into it. That's how they eventually get, assumedly, the contract with said company. So they are kind of using stock guitars. So I think there's something kind of nice and honest when it is a redesign of, like you say, stock items, because that kind of is more of an honest reflection of what the musician would actually use. Whereas if they totally customize it, then you kind of think, is this actually a practically made guitar you've gone here, or is this just kind of like a vanity project? So I like the fact that it's a rework of an existing model. I think there's something kind of nice to that. I'm getting the feeling that you would have got comfortable with how it plays by now, and I'm wondering if you had
Yeah.
any any thoughts about the way it plays. Does it feel any way to you?
So it's a nice just the specs. It's a narrow neck. I like narrow necks. I've always
Yeah.
liked really fast ones. Like I think my next nicest guitar is my Dimebag Washburn, and it's got a real narrow neck on it as well. Uh, the the absolute single most standout thing about this guitar is the sustain is ridiculous. And play a note and it just hangs there and it hangs and it hangs. It doesn't deteriorate, it doesn't degrade, it just slowly fades out. It's just amazing.
The universal sign of quality. I think you, as a woodworker and a guitarist, will obviously be aware of that. That I think most guitarists, it's just the better the sustain is, the natural sustain of the note. That's just generally seen as the most universal way of demonstrating the quality of a guitar. So it's another thing actually, just quickly to circle around to it, you did mention about your unboxing video. Again, for anyone who's not aware, it is written at the bottom, but do remember, obviously you are running Band-Maid Fan Cafe on Facebook, which is the, as far as I'm aware at least, is the most prominent international fan community for the band. On Facebook at least. So if you do want to see the unboxing video, which I actually highly recommend, I found that very interesting, do go check it out on there as well. And obviously if you're a fan, go check it out anyway, because it's a fan group which has stuff, and like, when someone is actually making merchandise that isn't even real, that is where you need to be.
Well, to be fair, we're the second largest group on Facebook. The largest one is worldwide, Band-Maid Fans Worldwide.
Well, you're the only one with me.
Right, and that's what makes it special. And Peter is amazing with his Photoshop skills. He's the one. He did a bunch of he did all the thumbnails for Herman Lee.
Yes.
And he did the Band-Maid stuff. So him and Herman Lee are like internet buddies now. They have this little bromance going.
Yeah, I the funny thing is, I've actually kind of stopped using Facebook for many reasons. I just kind of like sick of all the politics and stuff that's always on there, and so for me, I really go on there very sort of quietly. I don't post or respond to anything. I just kind of go on and look at the things I want to go on. So there's about 3 things I follow, one of which is your group. I've just got to sort of go on, check those 3 things, and then I'm out of there. So yeah, even if you're not a Facebook user, just go in there quietly and have a snoop around. So well, yeah. So in regards to the Flappy Pigeon, so it plays in a sort of a natural but high quality way. It's got that nice headstock. But then when you look at it for more than 10 seconds, you start seeing the bodywork. And obviously, I'll start moving on to putting these pictures up on screen now, because the bodywork is kind of exquisite. I mean, it's amazing how it's on there. And this is the bit you were talking about where the natural materials really give it a unique model by model example. I mean, just talk us through that. I mean, it's, you could write a book about what's on that guitar.
Right. So, I guess I'm gonna get a little poetic on you. I would compare the guitar to pick a Band-Maid song. You listen to a Band-Maid song, it's like, wow, that's a really good song. You look at the guitar, wow, that's a beautiful guitar. When you start listening to a Band-Maid song, things start coming out that are just absolutely stunning and amazing about it. Same with this guitar. You start paying attention to it, and there are so many little Easter eggs hidden in this guitar that, I mean, the perfect example is I didn't even realize that the edge of the metal plate were just little doves, pigeons that were alternating up and down. It makes the entire ring of the car. I didn't even know that was a thing until I unboxed it. And I actually went back, and when I was editing my unboxing video, I'm like, dude, those are little pigeons. But I mean, well, you can go over. I mean, everything about this is custom. I mean, you see if I can do this in the center there, instead of saying AZ Zamitis 1955, it says the MK and Zamitis. You know, the Miko Kubato. The pickups are all the same. The pickup plates are the same. You get into the metal plate. I mean, the whole thing is representative of a bird. I mean, the eye is up here, the wings out here, and it looks like a peace dove holding a little olive branch, but it's obviously the roses and the leaves. The other one right here, this is the hiragana for po. You got the line, the
Ah,
straight line, the
yes
loop
as
down
well.
here, and then this little rose is a circle.
I had not
It's
seen that. I had
oh
not
really?
seen that. I had not
Yeah,
noticed that. That's brilliant.
right. So I think that's something she pointed out originally, or someone had found it like on Reddit. There's someone completely dissected this thing. It's there's 50. I mean, you see it in the pictures I sent you, but
Yeah.
all this right here, these are all little pigeons that alternate all the way around.
I just wanted to point
It's
out
just amazing.
I don't think this was the original intention, but one of the things that came across, I mean, it kind of shows how it's one of those. It's like what they call them seeing eye pictures, where you look at it and just it starts to come to you slowly. And actually, I think your analogy of the song actually is a really beautiful analogy, because that is very true. You could take it at surface value, or you could dig into it and get more from it, which is kind of indicative of what they do musically. However, when I saw that flower arrangement at the bottom, despite when this guitar came out, the first thing that came to my mind is it made me think of the cover of Conqueror. And I started seeing, like the flower arrangements on there. It's nice that and the pole thing, I had no idea that was in there. That's fantastic. It's nice that when you look at it, there's enough that you can get from it, but there's also so much in there that you can kind of start to interpret things in your own way. I mean, it's that level of detail that you can actually get a little bit personally interpretive of some of the things in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it is, and again, I mentioned my unboxing video. It is as much art as it is a musical instrument. It is an incredibly high quality musical instrument, and it deserves to be played. So I play it. Pigeons need to fly, but you could hang that on the wall and put it in a shadow box with some LED lighting, and
Waste.
it deserves to be there. Absolutely.
Well, this is. I'm going to slightly move because this is a slightly more general point about this that came up. Because when this came out, it struck a bit of a chord with me, because I've always been one of those people, and I'll talk you through my way of thinking this, because this was a bit of a journey. I really had a lot of thinking on this. I've always been one of those people who's very curious, partly in why people buy signature guitars, and I'll tell you for why. Because I was trying to work out what are the logical uses for a signature guitar, because the automatic thing I go to is working with a lot of unsigned bands, as I did, and working with a lot of lower level bands. I saw so many people with signature guitars who would go onto stage and play with them, and I thought, you're trying to make your own identity, but you're carrying around a guitar that has way more identity than you and is completely overshadowing you just by being there. It's like bringing a celebrity on stage with you. So I started thinking, what are the main applications for a signature guitar? And I thought of three. One is if you are already so famous and respected that just by bringing it onto stage, you are making a kind of a nice point about the unification of artists through your fandom. Number two is probably the one that I find most concerning, which is what you said, sticking it on a wall and covering it with LEDs. Yes, that's perfectly valid, but it seems like you say, a pigeon should be allowed to fly. It seems very weird to cage a musical instrument in the sense that it doesn't get used. And then third, I thought, actually, the real use is it's probably the most honest form, expensive as they are, it's like the most honest form of fandom, in that you are getting a piece of merchandise that actually allows you to experience something of the band, because it's weird, it is actually a very personal thing. I mean, when we work with music, people who work with music, we think about music as a performance thing, but it is a very personal thing. We go home, I have my guitars here, you go home, you sit and you play just for your own entertainment, and in that sense, as just something to sit at home and play with, it's like the combination of having like the live DVD, the merchandise, and a guitar all together is. So I'm kind of intrigued by your feeling. I mean, because obviously you've got this beautiful thing, and you're not just going to sort of restrict it to the wall. When you play it, I mean, is that kind of what it is for you? It's like partly playing music and also partly experiencing that. Because I'm guessing you don't just play Band-Maid songs on it.
No.
Exactly. So
Uh,
it makes an interesting connection now.
so that's actually a really big question.
Mm.
I think so. Well, let's start with how I ended up with this because
Okay.
I had when they announced Budokan, I
Yeah.
immediately I went I will and I'm completely honest here. I went to my wife and I said, "Honey, for my 50th birthday, because I'm gonna be 50 in May, like, can I have an early birthday present and go to Japan for a concert?" And she looked at me like, "You're going to Japan without me, you jerk." But she signed off on it. So last February, I mean, when they announced it, I started saving. Uh, so I have a little side business that I make. That's where the CFH cosplay comes from on YouTube. It's my little side business. So I make props and
Ah.
stuff. So everything I sold, I started putting away, and I got to like 4 grand. So I'm like, I'm gonna have a great trip. Well, COVID kicked those dreams square in the forehead. So I had most of the money ahead of time, and then they announced this, and I'm like, you know what? Screw you, COVID. I'm gonna get this guitar. So uh,
Yeah.
that's how I ended up with it. And I'm like, and I've been playing guitar since '85. Not very well, they're almost 35 years of suckness, but I've been playing, uh, and so it kind of made sense. And like I mentioned, the dime bag before, I got that. That one's autographed, and I play that one too. But this is a whole next level as far as a quality instrument. But to answer your original question of why, and yes, it is currently the ultimate connection to the band. I've met them several times because I've been on this different shows, all the VIP stuff. So, but it's a different type of connection. And the fact that I spoke about uniqueness earlier, and the fact that it's one of 50 makes it extra special too. The fact that there's natural materials on it makes it extra special because it's unique in that respect as well. It is just it's a representation of my love for the band. It is a quality musical instrument. It is a piece of art, and it is a connection that only 50 other people in the world are going to share with the band. So I guess it's a combination of all those.
Yeah, I mean, just to sort of recircle, maybe repeat myself, but just to sort of push home that point, it is the ultimate connection between something that is absolutely the band and absolutely yours. I mean, like I was saying before, I often take this impression that with a lot of, not this, but with a lot of other signature guitars that maybe are not so clearly identifying or quite so unique or detailed, you kind of get the feeling like you've just kind of picked up the person's guitar. Whereas, as you say, with this, with the use of natural materials, with the clear registering of the number, it is both. It's as much yours as it is hers, which
All right.
is what adds that level. You know, you don't feel like you've basically nicked someone's guitar. Sorry, stolen. I don't know if that's a ubiquitous term. Stolen someone's guitar.
All right.
It genuinely feels like it's kind of both of yours in a way. Which yeah. So I think I was won over to the concept of signature guitars by this guitar. So really, until like a few months ago, I was very iffy on the concept of signature guitars at all. But yeah, and just even in this conversation, you're mentioning of the uniqueness of each individual one really sort of sold on that. Now, one thing, just to sort of move the point along, you mentioned something that I definitely have to bring you up on because we talked about this just before we started this recording. You were talking about the fact that obviously you've met them many times. Now, I'll start this the natural way by asking you to show one piece of merchandise you have that is maybe not the most official piece of merchandise, which is your shirt.
Hashtag no bias.
Now that's walking into a room with a message. And talking of walking into a room, I want you to tell me the story, tell us the story of when you walked into the room with that. Start from wherever you want.
All right. So 2017 was J-Pop Summit in San Francisco. So the story. I'll start with the story with the shirt. That whole weekend was amazing, and it's just one story after another. But the shirt specifically, just as dumb luck, the way they did the meet and greet for it ended up being #1 in line. And the girls were all inside this room, and there's a big J-Pop Summit background where you take the picture. And I walked in, and Miku right away saw the shirt and she started jumping up and down, pointing, going, Misa, Misa, Misa. And Misa blushed and all the other girls laughed. So as I walked up, Akane came out. She grabbed me and stood me right next to Misa. But when Akane did that, she tripped over the J-Pop Summit sign. I actually caught her. She was going to hit the ground. So I guess I saved him from a tragedy, and I got to stand next to Misa, and I embarrassed her a little bit. This all comes out of that. I think it was either London or it was the Seattle SakuraCon, their first U.S. show. And when Miku's doing all the different call-outs of the different band members, and they get to Misa, and the crowd, I'm not sure which one it was, did it first, started chanting Misa, Misa, Misa. And she's so shy. She absolutely blushed and was like completely embarrassed that they did that. So it's kind of become a meme within the fandom. That's why you watch a video and it's Misa, Misa, Misa. That's just it's a thing now.
Virtually every video I post, if any connection to Band-Maid, I get a Misa, Misa, Misa somewhere on there. So I know that one definitely. But I just love the fact that in that short moment, you got a full reaction from Miku. You managed to show fandom to Misa, and you managed to save Akane. That basically means you covered 60% of the band with interesting reactions in the space of about 10 seconds.
Right, yeah.
That's probably the most impactful meet and greet in history. So
yeah, not all heroes wear capes.
No, you wear it on the front. So I thought that was a wonderful story, and I really loved the I just loved that, and also given how much you are involved in the sort of community and everything, it's nice that you've managed to have an actual tangible reaction, a tangible connection with the band in such a quick moment. And of course, now having the guitar, which again goes back to that. Now, I am going to ask you a little bit about, because we started obviously talking about the guitar, and then you kind of brought up the subject, and I'm really glad you did, about the fact that there's actually a lot more merchandise than just the guitars. Well, obviously. And one of the ones that came up, we mentioned this a bit earlier, was about the Zippos, the lighters. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to open that folder on my computer. So everyone just saw the folder appear in front of your face. Sorry about that, everyone.
Here's one right here. This is a blind box. I have no idea which one this is. Oh, it's the logo.
Oh, look at that. That's like the universal one. That's the main one.
Yeah.
So just before you open these, I'm going to ask you. You might have told me this before, and apologies if I've forgotten. Are you someone who, in normal life, would actually use a lighter?
Once upon a time.
There we go.
I gave that up years and years ago. It's just a bad scene.
So now it's for the camping stoves only. So
yeah. The grill out back when I'm making steaks.
Well, these are really beautiful designs. I had seen the adverts that they posted, and these have been shared a lot again on Band-Maid Fans Cafe. But I'd seen the designs for these. It was really interesting to see the photos, and I'll put these up on screen now, actually. So have a little look at these. They come up and we talk about them. It was really intriguing, again, seeing the level of detail on these. Mm-hmm. So there's one per member. There's the group one. Yeah, this was fascinating. So do you want to talk us through these a little bit?
Sure. So I grabbed another random one. It's Miku's. Let me take it out of the package here. And while I'm doing this, I'll tell you the story of these. So my boss, I think a lot of people know it's not a big secret. I'm a police officer for a small department. And my boss is the chief of police. He's Japanese, and he has family that still lives in Japan. His wife goes back and visits every year. These are almost impossible to get out of Japan because they're considered hazardous materials. You cannot ship them.
That's true.
So what happened was I went to him. We're close because we both like music, and he likes Band-Maid too. So I can walk into his office and talk about that crap anytime we want. I said, hey, look, would you mind buying these for me and then bring them back when you go and visit? Because these came out was it like the fall of 2017 or 16? I'm not even sure which one it was now, to be honest. So he bought them. I gave him the money for it. They shipped it to his family in Japan, and then his wife and daughter went back for Christmas, and we're going to bring them home. So I did all my research to figure out how to get these safely out of Japan and get them here. And turns out you can bring back 3 in checked baggage as long as they're brand new unfueled, which is what these were. So it was
Yeah.
fine. So his wife had 3, his adult daughter had 3, and
I'm
then
glad you said adult daughter, by the way.
yeah, adult daughter. So but they get to customs, and customs flagged them and pulled them out of line and interviewed them for 45 minutes over these stupid lighters. So I got the chief of police's wife and daughter hemmed up by Japanese customs over some stupid merch.
Oh god.
But they made it.
45 minutes for a lifetime of joy. That's all we're saying.
Good God. And to my knowledge, I mean, I've asked around and I haven't seen anybody say anything. Far as I know, this is the only full set in the United States. One other guy has all of the individuals, but he, for whatever reason, decided not to buy the logoed one. So to my knowledge, it's the only complete set in the United States.
Again, that kind of makes sense because you'd need someone with free lighter mules.
Right. Basically, yeah. So, but yeah, and I know you're putting it up, but just the Miko, the detail of this is just absolutely stunning. I thought it was going to be screen printed on the metal. No, it's actually engraved into the metal.
Yeah.
And it's relatively deep. But
look at that now. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Again, you can see the Kabato Miku reference on the front. I found this quite interesting actually because this was. I mean, you take this by comparison to her signature guitar. Her signature guitar is all about a sort of a classy intricacy, where this kind of is more about the sort of light-hearted, fun character that you would kind of more openly associate with, I guess, her personality more than anything. It's very fun, the design on Miku's one.
All of them are, to be honest with you. So the story behind that is, I guess, I honestly don't know if Zippo reached out to them or what, because I know some other Japanese bands have custom Zippo, Scandal being one that comes to mind. But they just, they met with the representatives and they sat down, each one sat down with a piece of paper and they just started sketching little drawings. And those drawings were then transferred to the front of the lighters. And there's actually photos out there from back when they were doing it. It shows them sitting down as they're drawing them. It was all, all part of the whole thing. Oh, the other thing is that everyone is numbered.
Oh, again, okay, yeah. Oh,
is that gonna? That's not going to focus.
I think I've got a quick flash of 74.
Yeah, that's what that one is. But yeah, again, this is one of those. Up until the Flappy Pigeon, these were the cornerstone of my collection, and kind of where I got started in the collecting part of this fandom.
Well, it's good merch because it's kind of like it's a usable thing, even though you personally are not really going to use it very much. It's a usable item. It's small. It's well made. It's not cheap. I mean, cheap quality wise, it's not cheap quality wise. I must admit, hashtag no bias. I think probably my favorite one would be the Akane one. I really kind of, I think especially the way that she's done I mean, obviously, given that it's her who's drawn that, therefore, I really like the way she did the band logo on that. I thought that was a really beautiful interpretation of the band, band's logo. However, the Misa one probably appeals to me most as a bit of a science-loving guy. I kind of love that. It's kind of somewhere between the scientifically wonderful and the crazy, and just writing alcohol is necessary on the front is quite possibly the most beautiful way to combine your personality with the product on sale.
I mean, it's either welcome home, masters and princess, or it's alcohol is necessary. Take your pick.
Those are two quite differing messages that, when you know the band, support each other wonderfully. I was really quite shocked at the amount of detail that Psyche got into her one as well. That's like a really professionally drawn picture, actually. I mean,
yeah.
Ironically, I think both the Psyche and the Misa ones are both probably the most professional looking. They look like they've been really drawn by an actual artist.
But each one has its own. Again, it's like a Band-Maid song. It's like, oh, that's a cool lighter, and then you start getting in, and you look into the little details, and there's a a cuteness to each one. There's something that's a little bit special, like the Akane one. She has the little hearts. The Mincho has the cup of coffee. So this was right when, because they were coming out of that popish era hasn't quite crossed over into the harder rock stuff. They still did that, semi-idolish. These are my charm points type of thing.
Yeah.
So those are all highlighted in those in the lighters, and that was I guess another connection to them. Miku with the horse and the horse racing, that's her thing. Misa with the alcohol, uh, Kaname with the cup of coffee, and
I was going to ask about the Konami one, because the Konami one is probably the most, the most sort of
busy.
Well, you look at it and you're like, okay, wait, what? It takes a moment to focus on it, because, I mean, you get the cup of coffee, you get the sort of extended fingernails, you get the logo that looks like. So I'm guessing, it looks at first like something's being drowned in the cup of coffee, but then I like, actually no, that's the cup of coffee exploding out of the cup, and it's like the logo is like milk almost splattering on the proverbial lens. It's really confusing, and in a way I kind of find it charming that out of all five of them, this is the one where I'm just looking at it going, I have no idea what's going on. I'm going to have to try and interpret it. And that, for someone who is basically the architect of the songs, I love that that's the transference into her visual.
But if we're being honest, isn't that Mincho incarnate though?
Yeah, because she, that sort of quiet, you don't really know what's going on with her thing is sort of beautifully interpreted by the fact that even when she draws a picture, you're not really sure even then what the hell's going on.
I mean, there's there's kind of a joke also in the fandom with her, and she'll be sitting next to Miko in an interview, and Miko is just in full flight going on, la, la, da, 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 da. And Mincho's sitting over there, and she'll start blinking, and she'll blink faster and faster and faster, and it's like it gets to a point where she gets to blue screen of death and just reboots. It's like a computer, and you can see it. There's just always you have no idea what's going on in that beautiful mind of hers, but it comes out when in interviews, because she's very kind of demure and kind of scatterbrainedish when she speaks, but when she's holding a guitar or when she's writing a song, it is like that. It's that savant level of stuff, because there's just so much going on.
I think for me, I always kind of felt that there was this sense that if you were to take all five members, the one who I would assume is the most 100% just being themselves all the time. There is sort of no showmanship to it. They don't have any mask whatsoever. Is probably Akane, because she just comes across as like, with Misa, for example, she's quite shy, so she puts on the stage presence of the calm drinker. Obviously, Miku is playing to amplifying all of her personality strengths. Psyche is a leading lady, so that comes with its whole sort of performance quality. Akane, to me, feels like the most just, I'm just who I am. But that's where the Kanami interesting example is that I have no idea. With her, I have no idea. Is she just like that? Is she totally different? If you took her outside and had a conversation, I have no idea what she's really like. And that sort of mystery quality is... that's wonderful. It kind of makes her a complete unknown, and yet she's the songwriter in chief. So I love that fact that the driving force is probably the most unknowable quantity in the whole band.
Yeah, you know what? That everything you just said was incredibly true, and with the exception of Psyche, they have all stayed very true to who they were, going back to say Thrill, and if you have having following back then. But Psyche went from the kind of tsundere standoff kind of and you watch her now on stage, and it is something to behold. Just you watch the Domination live video, she is controlling that crowd like no one else, and she is having fun, and she is smiling. So I think out of all five has transformed the most from when I was introduced to them.
I think one of the telling things about that is, of course, when you look at how she first started her musical career. I mean, I think most people who are fans of Band have now seen her like in clips of where she was like a model in other people's music videos and stuff like that, and then her doing sort of poppy things, and obviously her love for a sort of more poppy style of fashion. She's still into trainers and everything. And it was the feeling that she was very much of that kind of poppy style that maybe requires a certain degree of, I'm not going to say fakeness, but, engineered image. And I suspect, I mean, she said about the whole thing about the dresses. Obviously, she wasn't originally au fait with that, and then now it's seen as like an onstage armor. And I think through that, through finding a steady place where she wasn't really in control of her image, she was, she wasn't controlling her image. All she was controlling was her actions. It seems that that's given her, has taken a weight away from her. She doesn't have to focus on the things she'd have to if she was a pop singer, and instead she can just focus on being a singer because Miku's dealing with your image for you. Your image has been sorted out. Go collect your image at the door. Now go sing. So I mean, for me, I think that's probably freed her up to, develop in that sense, in a way that maybe she wouldn't have done in any other setting.
Yeah, and the outfits are a really good example of that. Like you pointed out, we went from the Made in Japan and the Matador era where we're all dressing the same with tiny embellishments. Maybe someone's got a tiny Misa in her tiny hat. It's just amazing. I want to see her wear that on stage just once.
And the big white bibs. Big white bibs.
Yes. And then as we move through their career and the outfits change, they start getting a little more and more personalized to where we're at now. Miku's got this gigantic skirt that she wears that's all frilly and sparkly, and then you've got Psyche who's wearing a cape, and Misa's wearing basically a traditional Chinese type outfit. And
Yes.
Akane makes sense. She's wearing shorts now, so totally get that. But yeah, I think the outfits definitely are a representation of what their actual personalities are.
When I saw them at the, which is probably why Konami's one is still the most generic, because we're not going to let you know anything. So I think that when I saw them at the Line Cube performance in Shibuya, I remember that because I was never quite as, until sort of more now, I was never quite as familiar with the eras of all the different outfits, because to me, I've been following all their music in a completely crossed over period up to, I mean, we started reviewing them during the promotion of Domination, so we subsequently had Conqueror and Unseen World. So for me, everything was chronologically out of order. So I didn't know when she turned up, and apparently it was the first time, and there was a lot of chatter on the internet about, Psyche's changed to this big sort of dress, and everyone was saying, is that practical? But I remember when I saw them at that show, I think, first of all, you couldn't help but notice just the way that Miku's outfit was kind of tapered very wide. You're like, that's actually quite logical, because again, it gives you a lot of leg room. It gives you a lot of room to move with your legs. So it's actually big but freeing. And I felt that with Psyche's one, it was very hard to tell, but I figured it was probably a similar thing. It was on that scale to give her more actual leg room underneath all of this, so that she could move around more freely. So it does seem that they have been working. Again, it's the details. There's details coming out all the time. They are refining details as they go.
So I know one of the things that people were talking about regarding the current iteration of their outfits was, especially with Miku, was now that they're playing bigger venues, maybe she wants something that's a little bigger that just has more of a look for the people who are further back. I mean, it's as good a guess as any.
Seems entirely plausible. I mean, I kind of always just everyone approaches them their own way. I'm always sort of thinking of it from the practical uses, because when I see the outfits, my first thought is, I wonder how that feels as a musician. So the minute I couldn't believe that Akane kept the hat as long as she did. I was like, for a drummer to keep a little hat like that, I was like, that's going to be torturous. It's like you're getting the little bit of sweat on your head, because that's where it starts for drummers. It starts up here. And so it's like, you do not want something stuck to your head during a gig. So I was amazed how long she kept that up for. But yeah, it was like all of those little changes seemed very on point. But you are right. There also the increasing of the size of everything makes them more visually interesting for a larger show. I am hoping that when the Budokan concert is all sort of rescheduled and confirmed, that I will be there, because I was supposed to be at the original one. So I have my contact, and hopefully we'll be top of the list. Let's see. I'll be brokenhearted.
We just need to get you just need to get yourself a fan club membership. That way you get first crack at it.
Yeah, I probably should. First of all, I need to get money. That's
It's $5 a month, Howard. Come on.
Have you seen where I live? So yeah,
It's not a capsule hotel. It's a little bigger than that.
Do you know what? Capsule hotel is probably the most expensive. If you live in a capsule hotel, you are rich. So actually, though, I mean, yeah, no, it is true. I think one of the things, and I think it was you and I who talked about this before. So I only mentioned this briefly. But one of the things that always kind of tears at me is that there's always that line. I think if I sign up for one, like fan club, I'm going to be thinking, I should sign up for this one as well and this one as well, and then I'm going to be on so many of them that it's going to because the thing is that there's so many concerts I want to see, and they are dependent a lot of the time in Japan on fan club memberships. But of course, when it's someone like yourself who you kind of like, I mean, I've got artists who I love, but the problem is I have a lot of artists who I love on a kind of a similar plane. But when it's someone who you just kind of know, well, look, this is the band I want to see. This is the band who I'm going to say, that's my number one. I think that's great because then you can do it. And for me, like, Band-Maid is so close to being on that level, but I just know that when I do that, it's going to be near enough for me to be tempted down to the second place and then the third place. I can see the direct debits now. Sorry, direct debit. I only found out recently direct debit's only a UK term. The automatic payments. I can see the automatic payments.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I'm still using colloquialisms, and I haven't been back to the UK in like 5 years. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. I see. You're saying what complicates things for you. Wait, skipping?
Yeah, sorry, it skipped.
There you are.
Carry on.
So what complicates things for you is that you live in Japan, so this stuff is a lot easier. When you're international, a lot of the Japanese bands aren't really savvy to international. So Band-Maid has, especially now with Pony Canyon, I think they've figured out a lot of things that make it much more friendly for international where they weren't in the past. Like my number 2 band is Aldius, international friendly. It's a pain in the butt to get stuff from them. I'm just not a big fan of using proxy services when if I can avoid it. So they may put out something that I want, but I'm just not, I don't want to deal with a proxy. And some Band-Maid merch. So my one knock on Band-Maid and their merch is, like, I passed on the Clupo stuff. I wanted the shirt and the towel because collecting towels is probably my number one as far as their merch goes. I buy all the towels.
Fun. I don't know why. I just find them kind of fun because they're narrow. You can just kind of hang them really easy.
And they store a lot easier than a shirt.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get those things, but I mean, if I bought each of the merch, it was like $45, but the shipping's $45. So I'm not going to double the price of that stuff because of the damn shipping. So I think with Pony Canyon, what they're doing is they're, like with the upcoming show, they're starting to tease merch. We saw the beer mug. I expect more stuff to come in. Didn't they tease a shirt too? I think. I thought there was something.
I saw a photo of the shirt, but I didn't know if it was for sale. I didn't know if that was like a band thing or if it was for sale.
Yeah, I think they're going to start teasing this like they did with the album and giving us 4 videos stretched out over a month. Yeah. I think with merch, and then when we get close to the day of the Maid, they're going to drop this giant merch bomb. And for me, that works because I'll buy whatever I can afford at the time. So $45 in shipping is negated a bit when I'm spending $300 on material, on whatever the actual merch is.
I'll be honest with you. Depending on the weight of the items, I often wonder, because this is something I do for another friend of mine, not regarding band merch, but the guy who does our food stuff for Back a Binge, James. He can order stuff directly to the UK, but what he does instead, he orders it to me in Japan, and then I put it all together in one large box, and the discount on heavy shipping is so much that he saves money by sending it to me and then getting me to send it to him. So maybe you can consider that in the future.
Well, the flappy pigeon. Whew.
Yeah, not that. Nothing of that value. I would kind of, I'd probably wet myself with panic if something like that turned up at my property.
That thing kept getting more and more expensive even after I was holding it. So, right. So Peter, one of the other admins who picked it up for me.
Oh yeah.
I sent him 5,000. That was the price of the guitar, plus a nice little bounty for the effort. And we shipped FedEx, and everybody else I was talking to, it's like 100, it's like 70, 180, $200 to ship it from Japan. And not wrong if you're shipping from Tokyo.
Yes.
Peter lives down by Osaka. So Osaka FedEx doesn't offer economy shipping, it's priority only. So they quoted him $650. My credit card was charged $850. And then a week later, I got hit with $375 in duties. So
I was about to say the duties on top as well can be very heavy for a guitar.
Yeah, so I'm at like $6,200 for that thing. For something that retailed before tax at like $38. So it's like, that said, I'd do it again. I love it. Yeah. It's an absolutely gorgeous piece of not only a musical instrument, but memorabilia and something that's very historic for the band. So I'm happy to have it.
And it is something for life. It's one of those pieces of merchandise, like we were saying again, when it's a functional piece of merchandise, it's not just kind of there taking up room. It's actually something where it will be useful forever. You will never find a time when you don't have a use for it. So it is, it's an ornament, it's an instrument, it's a tool and a memorabilia, a piece of memorabilia at the same time. So I completely accept. Again, it's one of those things, a price that you pay, a premium for a lifetime of enjoying something.
Yeah. And it's an investment too, because it's gonna go up in value. It's gonna take a couple years, but
that would insinuate that you would ever sell it.
I'm talking when I'm dead and buried, my kids can sell it because they don't care.
Best answer I think I've ever had in one of these. So I love this guitar. This guitar is the best thing I ever said. And when I die, it'll be sold off because my kids don't care. So I'm going to share now the one. But I don't think I can get away with calling this merchandise. Because you guys know I've had to relocate several times. I avoid really having anything physical because merchandise is not something I really have. Anyone who's been with the channel for a while will know, however, that when I first got into this, bless him, Harrow, who's one of our long-standing Band-Maid expertise people. He sent me a copy of the band Michael, I guess you call it an EP, and he made sure that I had some special edition merch just for me. So this is the only real physical, as I'm not really someone who can keep merch, this is the only real physical merch I have. 2 key rings. The first one, nice and easy there, nice and easy, is the Band-Maid one. But the second one...
Is that the rubber one?
Yeah, it's the rubber one.
That's worth a lot of money, dude. I'm not even kidding.
This swings on the back of my bag wherever I go, so I'm keeping that safe. And the second one, of course, much more personal to me.
Lower? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Akane.
Got the Akane Michael picture, which I love the little, she's got like a little tiny taiko drum behind her. I should probably get them monitoring on the screen. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll take a photograph and show that on the screen if it's not clear enough. So those though, I was, again, it's a quality thing. It's really weird. It's just a badge, but it's a quality thing. Anyone who's had like little badges and stuff before, which I've had before, they get scratched up. This has been sort of hanging from the back of my bag for way over a year now, and I take that bag everywhere I go. I take it for shopping. I've taken it all over Japan. So this thing has travelled through snow, through boiling hot summers, travelled through everywhere. There's not a mark on it. And, it's that kind of thing. You get bands who, like, they sell T-shirts, and the T-shirt just, wash it once and everything starts falling off. There is no need to make merchandise last a long time. But you invest in quality, and it's nice. It's a nice touch. It is kind of like there's a thank you to the fans in just making your merchandise good quality and not charging a mental premium for it. So, for me, this always has a nice feeling for me when I see this, because apart from just the how much I like it as what it is also the fact that it just sort of reminds you, it's a quality item. It's actually a nice, just for a badge, it's well made. And the same thing for this. I mean, this is rubber. I mean, you say it's worth a lot of money now, which is nice, but rubber scrapes. Rubber loses its colour. This, apart from that little bit of dust I just found in the corner. Every single little notch of that is still perfectly there. None of it's scraped off. It's weird that. I don't know, I just think that's just something about that. You feel that with merchandise when it's actually good quality.
Yeah, that little rubber one, they were giving them away for free at J-Pop Summit. One of the booths, if you did something, if you signed up for whatever their email thing was, they'd give you one of those.
That's how it works.
And I gave my way. We do little giveaways on Cafe from time to time. I'll either make something or I'll go through my collection and pick out something, and we just do little giveaways. And I gave that thing away a couple years ago. That damn keychain's like $50 to $75 right now.
I'm keeping mine. I might not have any money, but I'm keeping mine because it's nice. It's special.
That's another thing as a collector. I keep an eye on the market and see what stuff is going for, and some of it is asinine for what people ask for stuff, but the really, really hard to get stuff has gone really, really up in value. Like I think right now, if you wanted to buy a lighter to get in the door, you're at like $550, and it may or may not come with the original autographed photo.
Yeah, as people will hopefully have noticed when they're looking through the pictures, the autograph photos as well. I thought that was a really nice touch to that. I thought that kind of added something to it as well. Because photo as it is, again, it's just part of the packaging, and this is something which goes back to so much about the way Japanese merchandise works, especially with bands who show an extra affection to their fans. You don't just get a thing. There's always more to it. There's always little surprises. It's all about making it really feel special rather than, oh, here you go. Oh, you want that? There you go. It's never just that. There's always a touch of affection to it. Now, if you were being cold and capitalist about it, we could say, well, yes, there's a profitability to making people feel wanted. But I do genuinely think that when you look at bands like this, there's such a consistency in Band-Maid's approach towards merchandise that I've noticed from looking at Band-Maid Fan Cafe and the posts on there and seeing what other people have posted and people in our community, that you just know it's kind of like a thing for them, that they always put effort into the merchandise. Which I just, like I said, I think that's lovely. You did mention about the Klupa merchandise. Now, obviously, I posted a review of Peace and Love, which was, I still, for me, the jury's still out. I really like it, but I'm kind of, my thought is more, where does this go? Now, we didn't have a chance to talk about this before, because this should be a side project that should really appeal to my taste, but I still feel like I need to hear both feet of the pigeon land on this one. I was really intrigued to get your opinion on what you thought of this, just sort of moving on to the musical side of it there.
I think it differs from... it was an April Fool's thing, just like Michael was.
Exactly.
It is what it is, but there is... I say this constantly in Cafe when I talk to people about Band-Maid. They do nothing by accident. Everything is planned to the smallest detail, to details that you may never ever know were planned to, but they are. Like with the flappy pigeon, the details in there. Everything happens for a reason. And I think with Klupo, she did that song, obviously in the kind of poppy rock version, but with just enough Miku snark to let you know that this is a fun thing. She's not going to do a full album of this. I just don't see that happening.
You don't
because
see that happening.
I don't. I mean, because she's so, and the group as whole is so single-minded on the world domination thing. I think it would be a distraction. It was probably a fun thing to do over, an extended weekend or a week. I mean, for goodness sakes, she did a full interview in which magazine was it?
Yeah, I saw.
Was it?
It's one of those really
Barks or?
It's a really forgettable title. That's the problem. I've seen the cover of that magazine now about 5 or 6 times, and I always forget the name of the magazine. Maybe because I'm looking at the picture. But it's a really forgettable title for the magazine. But if you look it up, you'll find it. It's there. The picture's going around a lot. I mean, my feeling, and this is what I came out of my review with, which is obviously I don't want them to be distracted, but my hope is that in the same way as Band Maiko, my hope is that this is just kind of like, because she did, all the merchandise, the interviews as well. My hope is that there is maybe when they did that, they did a session, they maybe recorded 5 or 6 songs, and that maybe there is an EP which will probably come out next year on April 1st, or just as a follow up. The reason I say that is because, this is not really what I want Band-Maid or Miku to be doing, and obviously they have, like you say, a focus on a much larger goal. But it felt like there was a potential there that at least I just want to see a little bit more squeezed out of this sponge. It's like it felt like that was like a safe landing point, and I just want to see a little bit more pulled out of it, because it's like I think you could do a little bit more with this. A little bit more with this. It's not worth investing a career in, but I just feel there's a little bit more in there. So I'm kind of hopeful that maybe there was another little batch of songs that they did with that, and we'll get an EP at some point. So that's my feeling. There was something I was going to segue to earlier because you mentioned it, but I completely forgot. So I'm going to quickly hold you to this now, because you mentioned about Audius earlier. So I am going to quickly mention, just ask, what is your feeling on their, I guess you could still say, considering the awaiting of an album, their new singer? What's your feeling about the new singer for Audius?
I like Reen, but I haven't been impressed with the 2 original songs with her. The first one was basically what she does best. That was an Anison song. That was absolutely like an anime type of song. And the new one, it's okay, but she does really. And I saw her at NAMM, and she did a really good job of running the stage, and she strikes a really good balance between the older Rami stuff and then the Renault stuff. She has nuances she has the power of Rami, almost, and she has that kind of, I always refer to Randall as having like an ethereal quality, a breathy quality to her voice. And Reen can do that pretty much. So she's like this nice delicate balance, because those 2 singers are freaking polar opposites the way they sing.
Yeah.
And for her to come in and be able to do both respectfully, I'm good.
Yeah, I agree. I think as a substitute to continue what the band were doing before, obviously with myself only having a comparatively limited knowledge of their music, but obviously having heard the vast range of it, I was kind of impressed at the fact that she does seem to be the sort of person who could carry any of the songs that have come before. I thought one of the things that I really liked about Rihanna was she has like she's got a real star quality, and I was really brokenhearted reading about the condition she has. I mean, luckily at least her health will be fine, but just hearing the condition, reading about how it affects you and your hearing and everything, I thought that was absolutely heartbreaking. So in a way it was so tragic that she had to step down for that, given the sort of big personality she had. But when you got shoes like that to fill, and like you say, the power of the original singer, and then the sort of the star quality, the presence and the uniqueness of the second singer, then you got this third singer. Yeah, I thought she was a nice balance. So, but yeah, I think I reviewed one of the 2 new songs. I can't remember which one it was, but I remember sort of thinking, in a lot of ways, it didn't sound particularly like it was excelling in any direction. It didn't sound like it was like wowing anything. But I was like, they got the formula right. It sounds like it works. It's functional. It's good. Maybe if they're still trying to find what they want to do, then this is a good, safe place to start.
Yeah, they're gonna have to figure that out pretty soon, because has been a while. They did the 2 Evokes, which basically just a bunch of old songs with Rain on vocals, which is fine, but
gotta keep the copyright fresh.
I mean, it's and I get it. I mean, Toki had the baby and she recently got married, so there's all these things that were kind of conspiring to slow them down. That's it. When they came to NAMM, there was a little part of me that was sad, because it was basically 3/5 of the Algius. I know. Toki stayed home because of the baby, and Renault had left, so it was Reen, and then people are gonna be so pissed at me. I can't remember her name right now. Damn it! And they had a fill-in guitarist.
You need to have a shirt with that written 3 times on.
Anyway, but they were Narumi. That's it. See, I got it, guys.
Knew it would come out. Knew it'd come out.
And she's a really good guitarist, but oh boy, does she not have the Aldius personality. She's
Okay.
she'd fill in great for Love Bites because she just doesn't smile, stands there and plays, does what she's supposed to do, and then I'm out. Where you've got Sawa spinning her tails around, and Yoshi's bouncing around doing her thing, and Marina's back there doing gymnastics on the kit, and then here's Narumi over here.
I like how that
But
sounded a
I'm
bit like a pigeon sound, by the way. I did get a pigeon tone from that sound. So, we just had a break, just in case anyone was wondering why the screen jumped. People need to have a break occasionally. So, the one of the things that obviously comes up a lot is that we're all very unsure about what's going to happen over the coming couple of years or so. And you've spent a lot of money on that guitar, which is a lifelong investment. I'm wondering when do you see yourself coming back to Japan? Do you have like any plans that are like right at the sort of tip of your tongue, things that you really want to jump in and do as soon as possible?
Yeah, that probably won't happen until I can, at the very least, take my wife and then maybe the rest of my family, because all my kids are adults now. So that's going to be a family trip. And no matter where I go, whether it's domestic or if we leave the country, any trip that we take usually ends up being about $1,000 a day when you budget everything in. And if I'm going to go to Japan, it's going to be 2 weeks. So I'm looking at $15,000. Yeah. So I got to scrape that. It might be after I retire when I get a nice little fat check
That
and
might be
sick time.
might be a good idea.
It's only 3 years though. 3 years.
I was kind of good for you. I was kind of saying that this has come up a lot when I was discussing this with people, because this is a subject that people are unsure how to approach. Was the one about accommodation? I found the maybe about 5 years ago, the whole Airbnb situation was very dodgy in Japan. But now, certainly on my last trip, I was traveling around Japan, and you're able to get Airbnbs. And you're getting like whole places, like getting these huge apartments. Like I stayed at one point in an apartment for basically 3,000 yen for one night, which is about $30. Had 3 bedrooms. And they're like a huge, like have balcony over Tokyo, 3 bedrooms, huge main room. I was like really kind of impressed at how good value a lot of things in Tokyo are kind of becoming. But I think that's probably a result of the fact that the economy here at the moment is they're doing that thing where they're trying to hold it on that zero
Right.
inflation because they don't know where it's going to go. So I wonder if like post Olympics, assuming it happens, whether that situation will change at all. So I remember after the London Olympics, everything just went up into the air. So yeah, I'm kind of hopeful that you'll be able to come here and get a little bit of chance to experience it. But when you're here, will you be able to take advantage of that to go, shall we say, merchandise obtaining?
Probably, but this is my ideal trip for Japan. I would come out here for maybe 10 days with my family and do the touristy stuff, run around Tokyo, see the different districts, maybe go down to Kyoto, just all the touristy stuff. And then stick them on a plane and send them home and stay another. No, I'm not even kidding. I've even told my wife this. And then send them home, and then I get like 3, 4, 5 days where I get to do all of that stuff. I go club crawling and see a bunch of little idol bands, maybe catch a big show from a band I like, spend a whole day going through Tower Shibuya, and then hit little disc union shop stuff where I can actually do that.
Yeah.
That would be ideal. More than likely, it would probably be a family trip, and then a year or two later, go back by myself to be able to do that type of nonsense.
The funny, apart from the fact that that is the sign of a good marriage, right there, when you've got that kind of honesty. Funny thing, my best friend James, when he comes over here and he does all his stuff and he's buying the food and the Pokemon cards and all the stuff that I have no real investment in, we have kind of a similar arrangement that he'll come for his holiday and we'll plan all the things we're going to do, and we'll have a couple of days. We'll say, okay, these days leave each other alone. It's like, you go and do all of that Pokemon card food stuff, and then deal with that, and then we'll meet up afterwards, or do that before you get on the plane. I think that is a very good approach, and I hope that more people, when they come here, maybe think of doing something like that, because there's so many little things you want to visit and get. I guess this applies for any holiday, but it's good when you kind of have, this is the family time, and this is the, okay, I have stuff to do. Period. So you were mentioning about sort of seeing like little venues and small artists and things like that as well. Any sort of any things that stand out? Any artists or venues that have caught your eye, or are you just really looking to just go at it blindfolded and see what comes up?
We talked about this a little before. I mean, I dabble in alt idol a little bit, and I think as far as those groups go, big Necronominal fan, but
Yes.
they're going through some turmoil right now. So we'll see what ends up happening. Yeah, the band basically imploded twice inside of 16 months.
That's not promising.
Yeah,
I imagine a spin-off group is probably going to start sometime soon, given precedent.
Oh, you mean Manacle? The three members that left the one main member and started a group immediately? Yeah.
Yeah.
That exists already. So there's really only one member from what I consider the classic lineup. It wasn't the first lineup, but the classic one. There's only one left, and they're rebuilding for the second time around her. I'd go see them. And then just other I don't know if you know who Hanako-san is. She's interesting. Yeah, she's a solo idol, but she does all her songs are super hardcore screamo punk. And she goes out.
I love it already.
She goes out into the audience at some point and usually stands on a chair, does it from the stage, and throws natto, milk. It just covers the crowd in just crap. And most clubs won't let her play because she makes such a freaking mess.
I was gonna say, yeah. My perspective, I'm immediately thinking, I wonder how much the overhead she has to pay for that.
Well, the other thing is too. One, it's an honor to get this stuff. She came to California with Necronominal and Yanakoto Sotomute, and they did a little 2-day show here in LA. And it's an honor to get that stuff thrown on you, because I helped with driving them around and stuff, and I was standing in the back of Voider. She walked to the back of the club and spit something in my face. I don't even know what it was. But she's a trip. You won't find much on her online. She doesn't allow videos at her show, so there's really very little video of it. She's interesting.
That's one way to build up a cult around yourself. I've got to admit, just when you describe that and then you put her in the same tour as Yanakoto Sotomute, I just think to myself, that is an interesting combination. I can't imagine them hanging out together. Yanakoto Sotomute just having a chilled out time, and then someone walks in, throws some natto in their face and spits on them. It's like,
yeah, considering they wear all white.
Yes, exactly. That is like a red rag to a bull. She must have been sitting there just like, contract says not to spit on tour mates.
She's 4'9" and wears it's kind of a schoolgirl outfit that's white, but it's covered in blood, and she's got a little red backpack. It's the whole Hanako-san thing, the equivalent of bloody.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would want to have natto thrown on myself, but I kind of I respect that commitment to knowing who you are. That commitment to identity is a wonderful thing. So I kind of hope that she gets a cult status out of that. She's never going to get mainstream out of that, but cult status, I think she sounds like she's, without even hearing the music, she sounds like she's done enough work to earn that already. So that's fantastic. So yeah, I mean, with that considered, a lot of the interesting things that you find in Japan is there'll be those little shops, especially, I mean, Akihabara is obviously most famous to this, but it'll be those little shops where you just go in and they just have the weirdest merch, just the weirdest things that you can pick up. And so, I get the feeling anyone who's a music fan, I would say, especially if you're in Tokyo, give yourself a little bit of time in Shimokitazawa, where there's all the little live houses. Just get a list of what's going on there. Book yourself into 2 shows a night for a couple of nights, so you can see a few. And then spend some time in somewhere like Akihabara and then maybe Shibuya as well. But Akihabara is definitely where you can get all the weird stuff.
Right.
You do that, and I think you could really sort of cover a lot of the bases, certainly merch-wise. But I must say, from my perspective, a big thank you for all the stuff that you brought to the conversation today. It's been really cool to see a lot of the merch up close, to get a really good look at what some of this stuff looked like, to learn a bit more about the guitar as well, actually, because, like I said, I went into this already kind of won over by it, but just hearing the description, hearing how each one has its own, if you like, custom build quality, well, not quality, but custom build intricacies. Yeah, it's really cool to see that. I love the lighters. I have this thing. I think some people know this. Is that smokers will hate me for this. Basically, every 6 months, I buy 1 packet of cigarettes. The idea being is that when I have a really stressful day, I can take 1 cigarette. So that means I have a total of 2 packs of cigarettes per year, which means that, yes, by the end of the year, they taste like nothing, but it doesn't matter. And that is just enough excuse for me to go and spend $500 on getting one of those lighters. So
There you go. Somebody has one. Someone has the Miko one right now on eBay for $2,100. I don't know what he's smoking, but it's not cigarettes.
the Miku one's always going to be the most expensive, though. Let's be honest. Yeah, she's the. Okay, it's weird, isn't it? Psyche's like the band leader stage-wise. Miku's the band leader spiritually. Thus, they have such an interesting dynamic. But yeah, no, it's been fantastic sharing with that. I love your shirt. You've tempted me to do a variant of my own. And yeah, so as a general, thank you so much. I also wanted to say as well, thank you. I didn't get a chance to thank you this before, but thank you for being my first ever guest about a year ago on these podcasts. Where we did like half an hour before, and I was really getting used to the format. I'd never done an interview just off my own back before. I was used to doing them like for other people, so it was really nice to get started on that. Really nice to have you back again to discuss these things in more detail, and just also you were there for the for a lot of the 10-hour Band-Maid live marathon. So
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, because it's pretty clear that I have an opinion for everything, although no one really knows what my actual name is.
And I will make sure to keep it that way. So, actually, at the bottom of this video, I should just have your name change every few seconds.
So people were wondering, I logged in, I told him, because it was on YouTube, I logged in as CFH Cosplay, and I said, oh, I'm SJ Nix from Facebook, so you know who you're talking to. And he goes, well, what do you want me to call you? I said, you can call me anything you want. So now every time he mentions me, it's literally a different name. One time I'm James, and then I'm Scott, and then I'm Jennifer. It changes.
I've been talking to a few guys who've suggested that on my back, no one sees the back wall. On the back wall, I should just have a huge list of names that I can check through every time I talk. So...
Oh, goodness. All right.
Anyway, thank you so much once again for being there with us all the time. And I do, once again, anyone who's here, if you haven't already, I'll be surprised if you haven't already, but if you want to get involved in anything related to Band-Maid, then Band-Maid Fan Cafe on Facebook is literally, like, as far as it's the one I go to. It's the best resource, both for stuff that's happening with the band, also for just funny stuff related to the band. It's like the perfect mix of like community and updates. I would say I use it more than I use their own website, so check that out. If you want to get involved in any sort of generic music conversation, then please follow the links in the description below to our social medias. I'll try to remember to put a link to the Facebook group as well down there. And a big thank you as always to our patrons. I know I keep on saying it, and it's just one of those lines I keep on repeating, but you guys keep us alive by injecting that money that we do not get from advertising. We're not sponsored by anyone, even all the beer companies who I'm constantly showing the product of. And yeah, anyway, lastly, thank you very much for making it through to the end of this video. I'm sure it's been an absolute joy to spend time with us. It's been a joy to spend time with you. And so until I see you next time from here in Japan, from both of us, I'm going to say ciao ciao. You're going to say
Bye bye.
Sounds good to me. Ciao ciao.
Okay. Yeah.